This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Good afternoon. This is the October 23rd meeting of the Public Safety Building Committee. It is 4:03. John O'Shea wrote that he is out of town. So I think with Chief Fasoli coming shortly, that's...
How about Mark Darnett?
Oh, Mark. I haven't heard.
You've got a quorum.
Yeah.
We do have a quorum. I do hope Mark will come. All right, we just have a half an hour before we meet with Janet and Amy, so we'll start the discussion with for public engagement. And let's see, Chief, you have been in touch with East Hampton Media?
Yes. We're scheduled for tomorrow for 5 o'clock to meet.
So we're jumping, okay.
Oh, that's,
Okay,
isn't that
that's fine.
public engagement?
Yeah,
Do we want to review the minutes first? Or?
Oh, shoot, sure. Forgive me. I am. Thanks, Chief. Let us review the minutes. Has everybody read the minutes from October 16th?
I have. Yes.
quickly here right now. Oh, sure, it's bigger.
When everyone's ready, may I have a motion, please?
I see one sort of typographical error in case needs programming. It should say Christine asks both chiefs to provide input in the pared down first draft of the gross square feet. So there's two little typos there. Is that provide him? To provide in the pared down of the first draft of the square feet. I just want to make sure that the motion under site discussion is correct. We spent a long time trying to make sure it's correct.
I find it to be correct.
I think that's what we said.
Currently should be current.
Whereabouts?
End of the second line under site discussion.
So propose that. Not current. Current. Okay. Okay.
Do I have a motion to accept the minutes as amended?
I'll move.
Second?
Second. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, I think. All right, now, jumping ahead. So, Chief, once again, you and Chief Fasoli have made a plan to meet with East Hampton Media tomorrow evening.
Yes, it looks like we just went through quick tours of the building, get a good sight of, so we can process some thoughts and move on that.
Great.
And just a note, I think from Ed and my discussion, we're meeting with East Hampton Media on their contract renewals, et cetera, and so this kind of an event would not be part of their normal contract, so I'm thinking that they will put forth a proposal for us for the cost to do this.
I do wonder about that, Chris, because when this first came up, I think before your tenure on this committee, we asked that question that it was part of the contract.
It's not.
Oh, okay.
They do town meetings, special town meetings, they record select board, planning board. That's the basic contracting. Other stuff that we've been doing is
Out of the goodness of their hearts.
kind of
That's lovely.
So a special project like this, we've told them to go ahead and put a little proposal for it.
Okay.
So, and then we'll figure out what that is, and, you know, it might end up being like a 5-minute video, 5 to 8 minute video, something probably not longer than that. More than a simple 1-minute public service
Sure.
announcement, something a little bit longer, but whatever the finished product is, I think we might have to fork out a little money for, and we'll have to figure that out, once we know that from select board. Can't quite be, I don't want to take advantage of their.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
There's only 2.5 people working there these days, so
Mhm.
they're really jammed, and we've added more meetings for them to record than what is currently in their contract.
And Chris, you sent out something this afternoon, which I haven't.
I had mentioned the other day, I think I had attended a Municipal Association webinar on public engagement strategies and things. And I found it pretty useful compared to some other ones that I've attended that haven't been as informative, I think. And so there's both a PDF and a video. So I sent it to you and the chief, just to take a look at, and then if you think it's worthwhile, share it around. But it might give us some ideas about, you know, how important, well, I think we all kind of know how important public engagement is, but this made a few points that might help drive it home a little bit, and just some ideas of how people get their news and how we can maybe think about bringing the public along with us. So just a resource, that's all.
Who offered the webinar?
Mass Municipal Association.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. I think we should just send it around.
Sure,
to
that's fine.
everybody.
I just sent it to you guys, so.
Thank you.
It took me a while. I couldn't find the video, so I found it finally, so.
She followed the protocol.
I did.
And yes, that's great, and I'm saying that I'm sure whoever will watch it will find.
Yeah, I mean,
Get
or at least look
something
at the
out of
PowerPoint. The PowerPoint is pretty much the same information that they talk about in the video. I just found the video helpful, and I had it on in the background, just listening without having to read something. So, whatever. Both links are there.
Great, thanks. Anyone else want to add to strategies and where we're at, where we need to go next?
Hi, Chief. Hi there. Only in terms of, I mean, there's copies of this that I had put out a couple of meetings ago in September, and to make sure there's enough for everybody, just, that, we can talk about how we want to do this. What occurs to me is a lot of this is stuff that we would want to do after we have something very concrete, like specific site proposals, and maybe even dollar signs, and we know what we're doing. And I just want to keep this alive. These other ideas, these are not, these were ideas thrown up by everybody over the course of a few different meetings. So I'll make sure that there's enough copies for everybody to pass around. I'm not available next month at all, in November, so somebody else is going to have to pick up that ball and run with it with some of these things, and I'm happy to help when I get back in December. So there's a couple copies, and if you don't have them still, I'll make sure we get some out to you, or I can email this to you. Actually, that would be the best thing. This idea we can add to it, but I think the start is what you're doing. I think also I'd really like to see, at least sometime maybe in November, to schedule some dates for maybe meeting with at the senior center for, something specific to seniors, and the entire public engagement maybe at Norris School. I think that's actually on our task list, that HKT will be a part of it, so I'd like to propose that be kind of put on the agendas for the November meetings, just to schedule those dates for when these things could occur, when we have something to review, specific.
Right, I do think that we have to have concrete material, maybe even before they're scheduled, but we will be working toward that. And we're going to have something a little more concrete today, but it's still nothing.
Yeah. Just a question on this, since I came onto the committee late here. So my understanding was members or
That's different. That's not public engagement. That's the comparison chart.
Oh, I thought that's what
This
you were
is,
talking
that's
about.
this.
No, I'm sorry. Okay, that was that one, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Look at your chart.
Yeah,
Never
come
mind. I'll be quiet. That's fine. We're on public
You can
engagement.
have this, there's extras.
We're on public engagement. Okay, so just one question. I think that we had said that the two chiefs were going to talk about possible dates for tours. And so maybe that's where we have
I
the
mean,
information.
what does the committee think, how many? I think we should do at least two in the two, so if someone can't make it, they can go to another one.
Yeah.
And have them
Yeah.
perhaps the same time block on an evening,
Yeah.
where they can go from one to the other.
On an evening, not like on a weekend, like a Saturday when some people.
But I mean, that's possible too, but
I know it's just getting darker and we're approaching daylight
Sure.
savings, the end of daylight savings, so just a thought.
evening or weekend.
Okay. Two, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Did I understand previously tours were, before the 2015 vote, tours were scheduled and nobody showed up?
That was the problem.
Is it because of advertising or should we give out?
Cindy, I honestly don't remember because it's been a while.
Okay, I didn't know.
But I do know that we tried to get the word out as best we could. I know one was on a Saturday and it was a nice day, so we kind of figured people would show up, but
Yeah.
everybody was doing yard work rather than,
Can we tie it to something? I know, didn't you say there's like Fire Prevention Week, or, I mean, are there things particular to police or fire, a day, a week, or something that's,
I'm not aware of, I'm off the cuff like this, of
No.
anything in November for us.
you don't have another like drug take-back day
No.
coming up? Or- I was trying to think if there was something where, there was a reason for people to focus in on police and fire, then we tie the tour to that day or whatever that was.
How about an ice cream truck?
Yeah,
we'd like
might be a hot cocoa truck pretty soon.
Well, yeah, but something around this.
Doesn't preclude the select board from actually proclaiming it, whether it's crime prevention day or week or fire safety week.
Or support to public safety personnel week. Because we see these signs, which I totally support, I support my police department or whatever it says. I don't have one, but I definitely think that brings out people, those kinds of things. And actually, over time, maybe we want to, I don't know where the money's going to come from, do we want to get like lawn signs out for people that support the vote when we have to vote in May? But anyway, could the select board consider something like that? Do you need somebody to stand up during public time?
I don't know, what do we need? Ed? Expand upon your idea.
You can proclaim whatever you want.
That's why I have the gavel, huh?
I mean, we can discuss it, whether it's at this meeting or the next meeting, and just, like I said, if, when it's going to go on and there's not a theme behind it, proclaim it Public Safety Support Week or something like that.
Okay, well, that's not a bad idea, I guess.
Should we come up with dates?
With that in mind, what makes any sense for dates? I mean, if we did a week, for example, so it could be like a, maybe two, I don't know, an afternoon, an evening, and a Saturday, like 3 options. I'm just causing variations of the theme out there to try and get more people, but,
Do you also think, though, if it's going to be proclaimed as a week should there be more events?
yeah,
Should it be expanded on a little bit?
Yeah.
You can do it as a day, so.
could be a day.
I just figured if you
Yeah.
did 2 separate dates, that
Yeah.
you could make perhaps with a week.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think that's a lot to actually, today and have it like an actual day, that's a lot of organizing, that takes a lot in such a short time frame, right? If we were to, and so what's the pretense? Is it gonna be specifically to Southampton? Or is that the basis of this?
Yeah, I would think.
I would think so,
To try and
make
educate
people aware of
residents.
what they'll be being asked to support.
Have we done, are there tours like I'm just wondering with the school? I mean, is there something like for the fifth and sixth graders, or, I mean, their families, or.
I mean, there's open house, right?
Right.
They still have open house.
Yeah. And you've got trunk or treat coming up.
Yeah, yeah, that's Friday.
And so they'll see, will they see, I don't know, will they see police and fire trucks there? Or?
They usually do.
Yeah.
Our police shift officers, they're there as long as they're not on priority call.
It is short notice, though, for
Yeah.
that. You know, we're not going to go to vote on this until May. Could we consider this for late March, early April? For
Yeah.
these, that would allow us a lot more lead time for planning, more opportunity to put things like on signs and we talked about some kind of printed handout, you know, sort of have that be more of a culmination kind of thing versus too soon.
And spread out.
And spread out. I mean, we really need to concentrate on the public attention to this, I think, based on two things: closer to the date of the town meeting and more concrete information.
I don't disagree, but I don't think you want to get too far into this and not do much of anything until like January, and it's like, well.
Well, we'll do the tours sooner.
Oh, I thought you were talking about pushing the tours off, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you do.
No, I'm sorry, I meant like Public Safety Day, something like that. Do the tours now, we've already got the ball rolling on
I mean,
it.
daylight saving is November 5th, so that's when our time changes here.
We could redo it, this is gonna be a video tour, correct? I mean, there's two things, there's videotaping and there's tour, sorry.
Right, yeah. So there'll be an actual physical tour of the building, whoever wants to tour it.
Yeah, well, can you do some now and then some
Yeah.
later in the year?
Yeah.
I mean, later in the beginning of next year?
Now, how is it that we, and Ed, what can we say and can't say relative to this? As far as its advertisement, right? Do we be very specific in terms of, you know, come look at our aging facilities and?
Okay. Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, you want to stop short of saying, vote in favor on May, whatever.
Right.
Type of thing, yeah.
But I think you could do a focus on the deficiencies, right,
Mhm.
in both locations. And from an educational point of view, I think you could kind of bill it that
I think
way.
that's something that we probably should come up with as a committee, is how we're gonna actually advertise it. Make
Yeah.
sure we use the right language.
Right.
Not
Yeah.
put ourselves.
Well, whenever you do meet with Jeff, I know he has said, and I think he told you this, that he'd worked on a similar public safety complex promotion up in Brattleboro. So he seems to have some
Yeah.
headwind there in terms of how he might think about it. So that would be some good knowledge maybe to pull from there.
And as soon as that is made,
Yeah,
we can determine how that can be disseminated.
right. And I don't know how long, that'll be up to him to tell you how long it would take to come and film it and interview people and put it together. And, we'll end up being out on East Hampton Media's channel, I'm sure, as well as out on YouTube or something, but I don't have a time idea until you guys talk out the specifics of what you'd like him to see and do. I think it would be helpful for him to get, like you said, though, the initial, just a walkthrough for him, like you did for us, to sort of show him what's there.
You certainly get a better response if it was coordinated with the event, right?
Mhm.
Like, for instance, our toy drive.
Yeah.
We get so many people.
That's true.
That's a good idea.
And
That's for Christmas?
It is.
Yeah,
So
the
we usually
holidays.
have it around the beginning, maybe the second week of
It's
December.
like a couple weekends
Yeah.
usually, the
Yeah.
first.
And we get quite a response.
Well, shall we think about that? That sounds like it won't maybe get elders, but it will get some.
We'll get somebody else.
It's the youngers. And that's-
Yeah, no, I think that would be
So,
something to really consider.
We can always give them an option to
Yeah.
tour the
And I think
building.
you have the Philip Cruiser over at the police station,
It's at
right?
the
But then
police
there's at least one more Saturday, if not two, that the Lions collect in front of the
Yes.
fire station too.
Yes.
So
Right,
I think tying it all together somehow would be nice.
right.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. Yeah, I
I
think
do think people are busy, so they're gonna drop the thing off and go.
Mhm.
If you had like the handout with maybe the video, you know, the
link.
link to the video.
Mhm.
Or
that
even a QR
that you
code.
could at least hand them, because,
Yeah.
you know, everybody's so busy, oh, I'm gonna do the toy drive, I'll drop it off
Right.
on my way to 20 other things.
Yeah.
Right,
you
yeah,
know?
that's true.
So they won't have time to go in and look.
Mhm.
But if we had something that they could, at least in their leisure, look at a video,
Mhm.
look at the link, look at the, you know,
Mhm.
pamphlet or
That'd be good.
whatever like that.
Yeah.
At least you'd get it out to
Yeah.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
also advertise it. We do advertise it through social media. We can include that in the advertisement
Yeah.
of tours.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, we have burning season, they have to come in for a permit, and I mean, we give out close to 200 season passes, and they physically have to come into the station to get it, so
That's good.
it's not till January 15th is when it starts,
That's okay.
but
That would be
That still
good.
works.
Make
Yeah.
the tour,
Could-
Maybe, yeah.
make it
hand them something.
It takes
mandatory.
us a long while to fill out this piece of paper, so why don't you take a walk around the police station or the fire
Right.
station while we do
Well,
this?
I mean,
That's got a burning permit, gone for a burning permit, knows what the,
over the years, I would
Yeah.
say at least 50% have said, you know, if you guys need a new station, but
Yeah. Yeah.
that's about as far as it
But that's
goes.
like mid-January, right? The burning
January
permit.
15th it
15th,
starts, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But that
That's
would
good.
be, yeah, that would be good, and
That'd
to
be a good
also
time.
have the video available.
Right,
then.
exactly.
So,
beyond the, whatever.
I like
it's
that,
given
yeah.
to them.
Sure.
Oh, that, yeah, I wonder if it could be, yeah.
Just a link, or, you know, just the address, whatever, if it's on, you know, YouTube or www.
Right. Or we could even hand that out, right? It doesn't have to be the professionally made one. We can just hand it out and say,
Right.
you know, if you want to, we also want to make people aware of our building conditions, and here's the link. We can
That's good.
Put it out in pamphlets.
Perfect. So what we do need to do is start thinking about the pamphlet or the paper or, you know, or something.
And if we can't meet that deadline with the nice one that you're proposing, we can always just hand them a sheet of paper. too,
Yeah.
with the link.
Yeah, I mean, could print something out like,
Yeah.
you know, and with basic information, something you can hand out. It doesn't have to be the official one.
And I think if people had time for a tour, I mean, you won't get a crowd. I mean, you get a lot of people dropping off toys, but, you know, maybe there'll be 4 or 5 that would really like to see the
Mhm.
station, so that, I mean, it
Right.
could be offered anyway, and they may not take you up on it, but, because I do agree, you know, that a lot of people just drive by and
Mhm.
drop it off
On
and
the way to
keep on going.
yeah.
I know, especially with the Christmas season.
And we can also advertise it through our electronic signboards.
Mhm.
We have 2 of them, we can put on about 10, and
Yeah.
just with the date
You are
and
speeding,
times.
by the way, come see me.
Yeah, yeah.
Save yourself the
Yeah.
aggravation.
Santa's actually inside in the evidence room. Can you find him?
That'd be cute.
Yeah, it's like Elf on the Shelf.
Yeah.
There you go.
Did you say elf on the shelf?
Maybe if we dress the 2 chiefs up as the elf.
No, we have to keep professionalism.
Yeah, that's not in my contract.
We just have 5 minutes before we meet with Janet and Amy. Should we briefly move on to task 7?
Yes.
So Cindy has.
I don't think we need to talk about it too much. These are, I got your copy, I just threw together, thank you very much for printing these ideas. Chris threw some out at me.
With the amended, there were additions
Here you go.
that Chris put on.
Yeah, don't use the one we previously sent out, because more will come out. Do you have the new
That's
one,
the same.
Christina?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes,
So
I just
anyway,
picked that up.
if you could look through this and either shout something out to me in the next 60 seconds, or, as before, email something. And then I think the second part of this that I think is really critical is finding who among you, not me, would take on the responsibility for moving forward to complete this. Whether that includes a combination of research, either online or making phone calls, or going to the actual locations. I also threw out Hadley, Granby, Dalton as potential locations. Are there other communities that should be looked at that might need fit within our population criteria or other criteria? Those are things that need to be thought about.
I think that, Charlie, you may be able to remember this, in the 2014 I think it was the executive summary, it listed 4 different locations, and I think Montague was amongst them, right? Montague and Dalton.
Not Montague.
No, okay, I'll
You know
go.
what? I don't honestly remember, but it was one in Franklin County.
Yeah, I'll go back and look at that, so there may be another, but I think Dalton was on it, actually, so that would be,
Now, of these, you guys have recently visited these, like, last year or something. So all of these are just
No,
Hadley or?
Granby and Hadley.
Granby and Hadley have been visited. And you-
but we don't have this information that
Oh, we didn't, well, we didn't.
Yeah. So to the extent, just a quick question, to the extent, how would we go about, without doing necessarily another site visit, would it be appropriate to send something to the chief of those towns and just say, hey, look, as we're trying to put our information together, could you try to fill in this little blank for us and just send a separate one to each, don't have this big chart. One for Granby, one for Hadley, and just say,
That'd be the fastest way.
I would think, and just have them try to fill in the blanks as much as they could, and at least get some of that data known, and then if we decide to do another site visit, we could do that, but.
or even 1 or 2 of our committee could go and do
Right,
it.
exactly, yeah.
And get specifics.
That should,
Poor John O'Shea's not present, but given that he had worked in another fire department, I thought he might be somebody that would work on this, but can we nominate him without his presence?
No, probably not.
It's only a few questions to be answered, what you have. And I
And
think,
the question is that, should there be more questions?
Well, and some may be duplicative too, because I tossed in some without really totally looking at what Cindy already had too, so some of my, there may be some things that are duplicative, but, no, I mean, if you did, that's fine, I didn't really look at it closely, so. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind, let's see if we can corral John and maybe Mark next time around, but, I wouldn't mind, writing a note out to the whomever we could write to, and just asking that they try to fill in the blanks, and that we would follow up with a separate meeting or conversation or Zoom or something.
I can email the fire chiefs for all these towns.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be
That'd be
fine.
great.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
that'd be good.
I didn't realize Great Barrington only has 800 people more than Southampton.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be another one.
Oh, yeah, that
Should we throw that on there?
I mean, it looks bigger because it has that little downtown area,
Yeah,
but
right.
it must be, more condensed because,
They have a lot of seasonal homes
Yeah.
there.
yeah.
So something in Franklin County and,
A lot.
And we have guys on our department that also work in Granby and Dalton. Nobody
Oh.
from Hadley, so.
Okay, well, that would be great. Yeah, so would it be easier if we did this? Would it be easier to divvy this up as to the fire part versus the police part of this chart?
some of it is the same.
Some of it's the same.
They're either in the same complex together, and
Okay.
what is,
So maybe try to send it out and just
I-
have them fill in what's
Yeah.
relevant to what they know.
And then pass it along to the other department.
Yeah.
Hopefully, they would coordinate and answer all the questions.
Okay. That's great. I think that would be done.
so we got
If you
chief
would do that.
facility on the, and Chris is gonna help a little bit to coordinate.
Well, I don't know anybody there, so Chief's
I
got
wonder
contacts.
if, Chief and I just split up what's
Yeah.
PD and what's not, and we just email these chiefs with the
Yeah,
certain
I think
questions.
that's fine.
That'd be easy.
Perfect, yeah.
And you email them the your email the fire chief the FD questions on here?
Yeah,
And I'll
I
email the
can
police.
break it down to
Yeah.
what, the fire side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we
Okay.
can find
And
the
send it to
population
each chief.
ourselves.
Yeah, yeah.
And Christina, you're gonna find out what was the other community that
There might be
was
one
on the.
more.
I shall, yeah.
Plus
But I think the addition of Great Barrington is,
Okay, got that one on there.
Yeah,
Um,
then why don't you send this around electronically to?
I shall.
Yeah,
I think you already have.
I did.
Not the updated one, I only sent it to you and Chief.
Oh, okay.
So then they could break it out.
Chris was on there because she had helped. No, I hadn't sent it to everybody. I don't send them to everybody unless you tell me to.
No, right. No, that
They're
was a
still
good idea.
working on the old police.
Yeah, I drove by the police department the other day. It's actually very small.
It's like a house.
We should not
Okay.
keep Janet and Amy
Well,
waiting.
we're
He's,
waiting.
Well,
he's-
unfortunately, my computer has now picked the time to do an update, so
Well, you're up to
90%.
we are not in control right now.
Okay,
While
well,
we're doing time-wise, do we need to at least, can we text them and just say?
yeah, do we need to let them know?
Just text them and say we're refreshing.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. We're ready.
We'll be there. Oh, man.
215. So if anyone has specific line items that should be looked on,
Yeah, is there anything else that
you
should be
give that to
on the
me. If it's okay with the chairs, if they gave it to me, save some steps. Is that okay with the chair people, and then I can
It's okay.
update it?
It's okay with me.
Could you ask the question again? I wasn't.
If somebody has some ideas of what else should be on
Okay.
here, rather than try to go through you, which is the usual protocol, could they do that? And then I can email the updates out.
Sure.
Think of another community to put on there or anything. We don't want too many communities.
You just wrote to Janet and Amy. Did you, Chief?
No, about this, I will.
Oh, it's almost there.
Is Charlie doing that?
No, because I don't have their access.
I will.
They're almost,
Well, we're up to 100.
Yep.
What does that mean?
it's getting
It means that we're working at 30%.
computer updating.
Did they email anybody?
Actually, the debate that's going on in the place is who let the horse out.
I don't
Did
have
they
a
have
phone.
email Charlie?
I email them right now.
Just let the horse out, be done with
Open the door and if he decides to go.
it. Here we go. Here we go. I was looking at the minutes of another town, or reviewing the minutes of another town, and I said, you really gotta get this number 7 out of here. It said that Charlie was investigating an anaconda.
Oh. Okay.
There ain't no anaconda here. Well, here's the password of an insecure guy.
We're scheduled the next meeting now.
Oh, yeah, while we're waiting for Janet and maybe let us indeed schedule the next meeting. That's a good idea, Cindy. Well, does it depend on what we're presented today?
Well, we've got what's on the task list for, so,
And your schedule?
after today, supposedly, and can you tell us, did you email them the proposal, the information, that there was going to be a discussion at the select board about
Yes.
altering the site?
Yeah, Chief did.
You did,
Yes.
okay, fine. So after today, which is supposedly the 2 test fit options, then by by November 10th, 2 conceptual plans will be proposed on the selected site, singular. So we're supposed to come up with a site today.
We can't come up with a site, that's impossible.
How are we gonna come up with a...
Well, anyway, that's what it says. Today, they're presenting 2 test fit options for 2 sites and select preferred site at this meeting.
Well, we'll have to discuss that.
Right. And then after they come up with 2 selected sites, which their deadline is
Hi, Amy.
the 10th.
Hey Ed, how are you?
Good, yourself?
Good.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, how are you all?
Welcome, Janet.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Well, we had a bit of a delay, but thank you for your patience, and we're going to let you dig right in with the conceptual designs.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to share.
Janet, I don't think your microphone's working. I think.
It isn't?
No, I think you might need to, we can hear you through your laptop, but not through your headset, so you might need to unplug and.
Okay. Now, how do I do that? I need to get a settings view, might I?
If you say a few more words, I think we're hearing her okay, aren't we? Is that everybody?
Yeah, it will just be much clearer if you can hear through the headset. If you, Janet, if you bring your cursor over to the lower left-hand side of the screen where the mic is, and then there's a little arrow.
Yeah.
You can go up and choose.
Oh, yeah. Choose the settings, HD web camera or True Voice? True Voice.
Well, you want the web camera, but then you want the True Voice for the microphone and speaker.
Yes, True Voice
There
for
you
the
go.
microphone. Okay, am I all set now?
Yeah.
Hey, okay, hi everyone again.
That's great.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. I've got a PowerPoint to show you as usual, and tell me when you see it.
Got it.
Got it? Okay. So I'm going to go into PowerPoint itself. Okay, so today's agenda is to talk about test fits on the two sites, on 204 College and Zero College. Talk a little bit about schedule. Amy will talk a little bit about our mechanical issue related to that, so that they are going to be involved early on so they can do their work, and then next steps here. So I'm going to talk about Site 1, which is 204-210 College Highway. These are just bullet points from the last time about the owned parcel by the town of Southampton that includes the current town hall and fire station. Again, there's reported and visually apparent high groundwater, exposed bedrock on boulders. There's sloping and terraced terrain, wetlands, potential riverfront setbacks, small lot size, and soils not generally conducive to on-site septic. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean you can't do anything. It just means you have to work a little harder potentially to do that. So what we've done is we've done two block options. These are massing options, and I'm going to go through them and blow them up a little bit, but I wanted to say that this plan has separate. I'm going to get a pointer here. Let me get a little pointer. Okay. So when I say separate driveways for apparatus and town hall, so we have an apparatus entry here and a town hall entry at this point instead of the one right now where you come through them both at the same time. We attempted to stay out of these buffers, and there's these buffers. You can see them here and here and here. Doesn't mean you can't do anything in the buffers. It just means we're trying to stay out of them as much, at least in the 50 mark, and then have conversations to see, if that's all acceptable. What I was trying to do in this case was to create an entry elevation, and this yellow represents any of the public space, which is there for his entry, somewhat in line with the entry point for town hall, so we maybe can grab some. It works for the plan, but there is an opportunity to get some commonality between those two. The Sally Port here of note has a drive-through bay and uses parking to loop around, so it's a two-way, not a back in and back out sort of world of Sally Port. This building, because of the terrace levels, requires three-stop elevator, 3 elevation out. So and I'll give you these are approximate number. The apparatus floor is at approximately 104. The main level is at 112. I think the town hall is at 117, 18, somewhere around there. And then the second level of this building would be at 126. So that's significant because, there's, as you all know, when you go onto the site, you're going uphill, and then from the fire station up to the town hall, you're going uphill even more. So you have some compound curves in there for the site. But again, we found ways of doing it. It just means these things are going to be at different elevations. So on the lowest level, and I'm going to blow these up for you in a second. They're going to have the apparatus and fire support spaces that support the apparatus, decontamination rooms, oxygen rooms, anything like that, gear rooms, and then the staff support where the people live. And then the main level will have all of those public spaces, lobby, training center, the administrative assistants, communications, and also in the blue boxes represent police operations and detention, sally ports. So let me go and blow this up so you can see it a little better. So if you look across the grades here, you can see the grades cursing across here. And so this level, these two levels, the red from the fire and this kind of peach red for the living spaces, are all at that lowest level, 104. And so it's so very, think about it the way that the fire station sits now on the site. There's, you go up on an apron and you go right in the door. This building has brought the apparatus closer to the highway. And so it has its own apron, which is good. We kind of narrowed it down. This is a lot of square footage here to put out any of your apparatus outside before it narrows down. And then we did, and you can see under this a little bit of shadow of where there's some outcroppings that we put a lot of parking. So there's a lot of parking required for this space, and not quite enough that we could build around the building, but we're assuming that some of that parking was for where the community rooms get used, and so there may be overlaps of parking here available. So we have parking. This gray thing here represents the covered storage request of the fire department for three vehicles. And then on this middle level, which is up, a story, half story up from it. That's where you have those public spaces, and this is the town hall entry. So there's still a couple of feet apart from each other, but the civil engineer will figure out how to grade between them. And then the blue level is on that same level. And you have the drive-through apparatus, you have the detention, and then you have operations for the police department on that lower level. This blue box right here is the firing range, and this gray box here represents the covered storage the police requested, which was 9 parking spaces. I do realize, and I'll start it out by saying that some of the colors are a little hard to read, the differences between these blue, and before we set this PowerPoint back to you, we'll clean up some of the colors so it's easier to read. So there are those two levels, and then I'll show you the second level, and then we can go back. To the plans. And so the second level, this is the apparatus bay, which has its own volume and is not really connected to this upper level. Now, it doesn't mean you won't connect it by way of an elevator or stairs and things like that, but the heights are not connected. And then this is the fire administration, this is police administration, this is police staff support, their locker rooms. And then this is back here is building support, mechanical systems. And Andres, who worked on these drawings at Color, and he did separate just so you could see where there would be potentially the exercise room, that room right there. So he put that in a different color so that you could actually pop it out and see it. And we tried to always locate that above something that it doesn't have people living in it on a day-to-day basis. So that is the first option. I know that's fast, but I'll go back to it and we'll take some questions from you if you have them. So we can keep track, or we can go through all of them and then come back. It's up to you.
Can you put a shadow on there for where the present fire station is?
Okay, the front, okay, let's see. Let me escape. I think I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this right exactly, but it's sort of right in line with this. So let me.
I mean, I don't need it today, but when you put the final together, could you?
Oh yeah, yes. So it's within this box right here, just so you know, within the red box now. Amy, you want to talk at all about? We looked at trying to use that building, but it is it is pretty useless for use, and the site is so complicated. I don't know how you feel about the historic nature of it, and if you think you're going to really struggle with being able to not use it anymore. We noticed in the last time people, they got rid of it as well, but do you have any comments on that could help us?
The Historical Commission took an informal, or made an informal opinion that with the current membership, a demolition delay would not be placed on the present fire station.
So what did you say again? The demolition, what? It would not be placed?
Demolition delay would not be placed.
Okay.
But that was informal. We cannot vote on it.
Sure.
Because it has not been, a demolition permit has not been requested. But
sure,
as an informal
course.
opinion of the present committee, the commission, it was determined that it would not be, a demolition delay would not be imposed, and therefore it could be removed from the site.
Okay, great. We kind of figured that, but we did look at that, look at how to use it, and, it doesn't work now, and hard to incorporate it when you need to get these buildings in. So I do want to take you to one side, because this is some civil comments that they had to it that I think, as we talk about it, I should go over that. Again, they were noting the wet areas that have a 100-foot buffer, which we've talked about. You can see it, this is in the buffer. This little piece of the building is in the buffer. You already have stuff in the buffers right now. The plans assume reconstruction of town hall parking to provide connections. He was concerned that the elevation of this and the elevation of that would need to be squared somehow. And, but as we're regrading and rebuilding all of this, that we would take that into consideration. So that was one of his comments. He noted that the vehicle travelways, parking grades, and general grading and slopes are critical because there's so many requirements of this site. There's pretty steep grades along it. He liked the civil likes separating the two the fire apron from the parking areas, but cautions that MassDOT may have curb cut access requirements. They might restrict that possibility. They also noted on-site septic leach fields will be going to locate anywhere on the site for soils depth from bottom of field to bedrock and depth from bottom of the field to the water table are going to be a challenge. And then stormwater permit design requirements will be very challenging to design for compliance. So just in a typical civil fashion, which we appreciate, they're scared of the site. They're concerned about the site. There's a lot going on it. There's a lot of wetlands, as you can see. We talked about that. There's wetlands, there's flag wetlands, there's buffers, there's riverfront, all over the place. There's topography. There are outcroppings that are available. So I just want to go back to this one again. So yeah, we'll add the existing building in. What other kind of questions do you see? Do you understand the multi-levels?
Janet, can I just ask a question? This is Chris. I guess I'm not clear. I see the smaller apron, right, for the proposed fire, or for the complex, and then does that mean that we have two entrances into the parcel, or just one still?
We have two. We have a separate one for the apron, so for the justifier. So no one else would use that secondary entry except for the fire department getting onto and off the site. And this is the one for the building net. Yeah.
Okay. So my question is this: the thing you got up there right now has got a bright red square in the middle of it. That's what you're calling the apparatus floor, correct?
Yes.
And then
correct.
above that, there's a second floor that you're calling the main floor.
Yes, that's this level here.
Is there a second floor above the red square or not? Is that a...
No, that would, well, yes, there could be, and it really depends on the final plan. I think let me see, I'll show you the second floor for this one has program above it, but it's mechanical space. So when we if you would say you would choose this plan, we would spend a lot of time fine-tuning these plans, making sure that all the connections were right. laying out the mechanical spaces to make sure they're in the right locations, making sure the stacking works correctly. This is just a concept. This is what you would put on one floor. This is what you might put on another floor. When you see the second scheme for this site, you'll see another option for that. But yes, we are using above that. We are going above that.
So
But Janet, just to clarify, you're going above that little peach-colored square where the fire department's support is, but not above the apparatus bays themselves.
Not above the apparatus bays themselves, right.
So you didn't prepare any elevation for us to just even get a conception of what the levels would look like?
Okay, so the apparatus floor is at 104 in this, and if you add about 25 feet, so 20 feet clear to the other side of the structure, another 3 to 4 feet for the structure itself, mechanical systems, and then 1.5 feet or 2 feet for the roof. You get to an elevation about 129 to the top of the roof. On the main level, you're starting out at plus or minus 112. You're adding 28 feet, which would be the 2 floors, plus maybe 2 other feet. So you would be about 142. Amy, correct me if I say anything wrong. And then, of course, and I've included the second level thinking into that. So 112 plus 14 feet is how you get to the second level, and another 14 feet to the roof line, and another 2 feet. So it's about 142.
What I was meaning was, you've given us a plan. Did you develop an elevation, like a front elevation?
No, it's premature to do that until you guys get kind of settled. But the first step was just to do these massing plans.
Thank you.
And then for you to look at all 4, there are 4 in the end, so this is just the first, and then kind of talk them through and say, what does this mean for this site? Because we know that all of those restrictions to Sylvan mentioned are going to be quite costly to build all these different levels, to retain the walls that need to do it, to deal with the stormwater management, to deal with the septic and everything. So there are ramifications for that. It's not the greatest thing to build over an apparatus. You can do it, we've done it. But you're up already 23 feet, 23 and a half feet before you get to a second floor. So it's sort of not an absolutely natural floor to floor. We tend to stack the other pieces over similarly heighted space, about 14-foot floor to floor. Does that make sense?
Janet, where does the police, where do they enter and exit?
The apparatus or the people?
The police.
Police enter on this level right here, which is 112, which is the same level. Anything other than the big red and the pink are all on 112.
Sure, I mean, they're cruisers. How do they get to Route 10?
They enter the Sally Port this way. They park here. They can have a rear entry point there. They can go in the front door.
Janet, you want to show the drive, though, for the cars?
Yeah.
Turning onto the site?
Yeah. So a police car would come down this way. If they had a detainee, they would go in the Sally Port. If not, they would park in this general area here. There'd probably be more parking required. We'd have to count in the end how much of this we might use. And then they would either go into the building here, which is a police operations building, or they could come in the front door and enter this way. When I show these 2 parking spaces here, I just made those accessible spaces. So parking is not ideal. It's a little bit limited. We have constraints of the hillside here. We have constraints of the existing building. We have all of these building buffers that we're dealing with. We may end up, squeezing this and pushing it back a little further. But this is the general concept. Does that answer your question?
So right now, the police vehicles would share the same entrance as the general public going into town hall or the current senior center until that moves, right?
Well, they'd have parking here, and there's a door, there's a whole wall here that they could enter.
The driveway space. They're sharing. So all we've separated out is the fire apparatus have their own spot over under by the red one, but everybody else is still going in that main one driveway.
Yes,
correct.
Yes, that is correct.
And I think, and what Janet started to say before is that we've shown two separate entrances, one for apparatus coming off College Highway and another for sort of everyone else. But that may not even be allowed by Mass DOT. They may only allow one single entrance like what you have right now. There's no way to really know that until going through the permitting process with Mass DOT. So it's definitely one of the drawbacks of this site. Yeah.
So one of the questions that came up before was the potential inability for any blasting to occur on this site. Did the civil engineers make any comment about whether any of these conceptual designs would require blasting of the ledge?
No, not yet, because, the one way, you have to know where the blasting would occur and if it's required. We just finished a project that we did 75 soil probes, Amy, on that site?
Something like that, yeah.
To locate and make a determination whether blasting was therefore required.
Okay.
And so part of what we're doing with the building is, maybe we're raising the building out of it so, as much blasting might not be required. We won't know that until, we develop an option, because it's too early. If this scheme isn't even possible because you don't like it, the operations don't work, whatever, then we deal with it. But why did they say that you could not do blasting?
I don't remember that.
Don't you remember that came up before that?
Well, yeah, people talked about it.
But do we have a report from anybody about?
No, it was just conversation. Everybody forgot about the fact that you may have cracked ledge that you can just move with a big excavator. Everyone forgot about the fact you could have a reciprocating hammer on the end of an excavator. Everybody just jumped to the assumption that they were going to blast.
So there was no study. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know that yet. There's other ways. That's why this would be a site, something you could do is do the soil probes of the area to determine, what is the level of stuff. I mean, we had a site that had very large boulders, but they were able to be removed with excavators. And then we've had sites that are much more complicated that required blasting. So it could be that, either of those, or something in between. We don't know. So again, early on to make that. What other questions?
So I have another question. You mentioned that there would have to be a 3-stop elevator, or 2-stop anyway, because it's 3 levels.
Yes.
Where is the elevator in this?
Where would it be?
Yeah.
It would be somewhere along this line. It would have to be somewhere along this line.
I see. Okay.
Where the 2-story building touches the 1-story building, because you'd have to be able to get to that elevation 104, the elevation 112, plus the elevation 126. So you'd have to find a common location for the 3 of those.
Okay. Another question I have, in the far left of the picture here, it says number 250C. And you said that was the shooting range. Is that a trailer, or is that an actual outside shooting range?
That's an indoor. Think of it as a metal, like a metal container.
Right. That's what
that one is about 9 or 10 feet wide by 100 feet long for the 25-yard shooting. We just put one in. It's buried in the back of the site somewhere. It's self-contained. Amy, do you know anything else about, I think there's some acoustic ratings to them?
Yeah, I mean, there are a few companies that make them. They're modular, they're made, or prefabricated. They're made in a factory, and then they're delivered to the site. And then, there's some connections that need to be made to, electrical and depending on what your heat source is and all. But they are pre-manufactured and brought to the site. And one of the nice things about them is these companies, it's all they do, and so they really have perfected the equipment in it and the acoustic abilities of them, so it's very quiet outside. You don't hear the shooting that's going on inside, and it frees up the building. You see the dimension of that, how long that needs to be for the shooting or alleys, and if you try to put that within the building footprint, it becomes quite a challenge structurally and for circulation and all. So we found that just removing it from the building and making it its own standalone component can be beneficial, and also, any potential contaminants or anything that would be associated with that are kept out of the building. So there are a lot of benefits to doing the modular unit like this.
Okay. And you can put it anywhere. We could put it, sort of behind operations. We just set it down on the site, so we made sure, it was located and you recognize the size of it. Okay.
May I ask a question? This is
because this is the mic up here.
This is a call fire department, which means that the greater majority of the manpower goes to the station to grab the equipment, which means they're going to have to come up a driveway and park their personal vehicles. Has there been any consideration as to where they park their vehicles?
I was thinking that they would have, this would all be restricted to fire up here, along here. And, they would be marked off, and there would be a door, there would be doors right along this grade here. Again, this covered storage may or may not be in the right location. There may be a way of tucking it up alongside that building here, which I like, but imagine this, there's right now about 15 spaces, 30 spaces in this whole parking. So that's what we assumed would be, some of them would be noted for the fire department. So this is parking challenged. I can say that. We struggled to get parking to work, consistently for it and get them, spaces where we need. In the end, I just said, let's put as much parking as we can get in here. So, there are 47 spaces added, which is does not quite match your program. And this is still a senior center right here at Town Hall, correct?
Currently.
So far, yes, it is.
Yeah, so there's some parking there that, might be giveaway. We might be able to add more parking back here and staying out of the buffers as long as we can get the grades to work. But there's no more parking to give right here. We sort of connected this parking to this parking to this parking and out. And there's not a whole lot of space. So, though we've added, 47 spaces, it's still not quite what you would hope for by your programming. And, we'll just have to, work with you to say, okay, how many? I think I'm just looking at the counts again. We had 40 in the ED, and we had 20, I believe, in the shared. And then we had, for the fire department, I think we had 20. So your program had 80 spaces. So you're short, 33 spaces so far, and by program. And so, that's another negative of building on this site. There's just not quite the parking that you had hoped for.
So Amy, or Janet, two things. I think where you have the Sally Port now and up around where that shooting range is, that grassy area, right now when we have town meeting or elections and so forth, people fill that grassy area. That is where people park. That's the overflow up there. So I would think there's more room for parking up around where you've currently put the shooting range, up in that area.
Yeah.
But
again, we were trying to stay on the buffer, but yes, definitely you might be able to expand it in here. You may be able to expand it up in here.
Right. And then
maybe even here.
Yeah. Then you said earlier that it might require a second curb cut, which DOT may or may not like, and that we wouldn't know until we got into the permitting phase. So if we were to like this design, and then all of a sudden we say keep on going with this design, but whenever we get to the permitting phase, DOT says no, are we in a chicken and egg situation here, or how soon can we count on permitting to know, even informally or by law or whatever, whether a second curb cut would even be allowed?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's something we can discuss with the engineers. I think, again, this is a really challenging site for a lot of reasons, and you're seeing a lot of the drawbacks. I think the conversation's good, but I'm wondering, Janet, if we should go through some of the other schemes.
Yeah, so you know that you have some back and forth. Yeah.
Compare and contrast and
right.
Yeah. have a bigger picture discussion about the pros and cons of the two sites.
Yeah, so just so you know, this is another option, and though it looks very similar in colors, there's quite a few different things happening on here. And I don't want you to get too concerned about the wedge shape and the curves, because they just represent physical space between the two elements. There's an element this way and an element going this way. And this one has the shared driveway for the apparatus and town hall. So you're still coming through here to get to town hall, but you're going this way for the apparatus. And I think that may be more acceptable to MassDOT, that there's a little bit more separation, and since there's no parking on this side, once this fire department's coming out, everyone's going to move out of the way, or stop or something like that. But this is a little bit different scheme. We again tried to stay out of the buffers. We tried to align the entries somehow, and it's mostly because of the grades. The grades are so significant. Sallyport has a loop. Again, there's still the 3-stop elevator, same concept. And the splits are quite the same, except what we did here in this area is we pushed the building further back into the site, and that's why I was talking about, pushing the building back into the site. And we were able to get both police operations and their support spaces on the first floor as an option. And so we thought that was worth looking at. And what that means for the second floor is, you're using less of a second floor here, and you've got more rooftops to work with. And those rooftops, again, depending on the shape of them and everything, they could be green roofs, they could be stormwater collection areas, which would be great to reduce that. But it's got a little less program on the upper level. And I'm going to go into that one just a little bit more so you can see it. So you come in here, there's parking here, there's parking here, so there's 24 spaces right here. Maybe they could be expanded to get more. And then this is the apparatus. This is the firefighters' living spaces behind it. That's mechanical. And this is the same Sallyport detention operations and police support spaces, their locker rooms. And again, they would come in, they would park along here, and they'd be able to go into this side building, or they could use this front of this building. One thing that is missing from this, there should be a couple accessible spaces tucked in here. I think I missed it when I was doing the review, but again, we moved we kept the shooting range off to the side here as well. So we got a very clear police side, we got a pretty clear fire side, and they kind of split the side, and we did that to work with the grades a little bit and to come up with that singular entry. So we think that has some possibilities. And I'll just tell you what the civil guy said. He said, we talked about the second floor. And then the civil said, again, keeping out of the buffer, he thought it was better in terms of access to Colwich Highway because of the MassDOT preference for the single curb cut. And he said, when the fire truck siren blasts, everyone is get out of the way. It's how it works. And because they are a call station, there's a different kind of response. This will also likely require extensive earthwork as well as incorporation of some grade retaining walls between the buildings and the different tiers. Will require extensive environmental permitting to make sure the issues are addressed and mitigated. Talked about the same leveling of the reconstruction of town hall parking, the vehicle travel ways, the septic leach fields, and the stormwater permitted design. Nothing has changed for all those. It's still a very, very challenging site, but they were actually more comfortable with the two options than they thought they would be. They were pretty concerned that their immediate thing was, nothing's going to work. I can't see it, but they were pleasantly surprised. But they wanted to emphasize that this stormwater work, this grading work, this pumping of stuff is going to be costly. And we all know that, we all know that. Whether it has to be blasted or whether it just has to be tiered, it makes a difference. So I guess, Amy, is it worth asking for a few questions here, or should we go on to the other two? But I think maybe we should stick with this just to...
Yeah, maybe a few questions if anyone has any questions on option 2.
Doesn't look like there's any questions.
Okay.
Well, that I'm surprised. I'm sure a lot of the same questions that you have first time work with the second ones. Do you have any reaction to the shared driveway, though?
Is it, the first time you came to Southampton, you both said, oh my goodness, shared driveway with Town Hall. And I got the impression that wasn't okay, that there was, some permitting issues. You feel differently about that now?
Well, I think it's really, to me, it's more like how you get to it. You sort of drive across the apron, like where you come in. Let me see if I can go all the way back in time here to this. And you see how right now, this is your curb cut right here. And so when you come in there, you've got to travel across the apron and around the bend to get to the parking. The scheme we developed, it's not ideal, but it pushes that driveway south and away from the apron so that the normal traffic for people coming in would not tend to get in front of it. So again, not ideal for you, but it is what you have to work with. So if you want to work on this site and, MassDOT might have a restriction, this is a way of resolving that or coming up with a better option. And then, you have parking here right now. We're expanding that parking, shifting the driveway so you're not sort of looping up and around. You're coming more straight shot in. Amy, do you have any other comments on that?
No, I think that's exactly right. It's never good to have people stop on the apron and block those doors, and to just separate it a little bit helps. But it's still not ideal. It's the challenge of this site. Whether you can get the separate curb cuts, which would be better, is the question. And you can't know that at this point, unfortunately.
Yeah, we'll talk to the civil about it. What's their sense?
At the same time, it's what the townspeople are used to. They're used to sharing this. It's not like we've got fire trucks and ambulances going out every 5 minutes. I think people have gotten,
but you've never had a police department there as well.
True.
And there's added traffic and added movement there. So, there will probably be, in this case, there would be probably this line across the sand here. No stepping over the bounds unless you're a fire truck, sort of thing. But, there would be some graphic things. And in fact, it could be that there are, more, this is actually cut back a little bit more. There's more cut back here, so there's even less opportunity for you to enter that zone. We would know until, when you do massing diagrams and then you do an actual plan, sometimes they have little to do with each other. They're fundamentally different because as you keep developing, you keep seeing more opportunities to improve things. So the civil engineers has taken they really looked at these two sites a little bit. The other two options they were less concerned about on Zebra College, but this site they really did look at it and say, okay, what's good and bad? Can this work? And between the grades that we described to them and that they thought, possible. Lots of work to get these buildings to work with each other. And the fact is that, between these two grades, this is 104 here, and this is 112. So this is 8 feet above this. So, as you look at the building, you're going to be tearing up to that next level, and that building's going to be taller above it. So you have quite a bit of height there over that initial 104 elevation, which is down here somewhere. And again, Amy and I were trying to do our best to, we didn't have one of those deep conversations with the civil about what do you think would be the best elevation? Because they'll come up with something else. They might say, well, maybe if, we know actually where everything was. So I think we were trying to deal with, there's a grade change here, and there's another grade change right up from it. And again, I'm going to go back to this drawing because I had one of these drawings on each one, but I took it off. See, there's there's a 100 here. This is elevation 105. This is 110, that's 115, that's 120. So you can see how you're picking up 5, 10, 15 feet across this distance here, and 5 feet across the grade from the corner of the fire department to the edge of the parking that sort of defines Town Hall, and then another 5 feet
to get to the other side of that. So there's been a lot of grades that have been rejiggered, so to speak, to make these parking lots work and to make them acceptable. But when you put a big building here, now you're trying to mitigate the change from, that 100 and 204 all the way up to 120. So we kind of picked, what we thought for these two schemes was a reasonable elevation to work with. At first we thought this was going to be on the third level, but then we thought, no, we'll just have to cut into this, we'll cover and retain, and that's why the civil engineer said there's going to be retaining here to retain the soil and to get these grades to work. And some of this could be higher, and they slope down into it, but with slopes comes water, and so we have to deal with the stormwater management of that as well.
I'm sorry.
No, you go.
The public access, as far as the lobby, if you will, that will be in that yellow marking, correct?
Yep, somewhere in here.
And they would be parking, if they were to park, where would
They would be parking here, they might be parking here, it depends on, we would definitely want to try to figure out how to increase the parking down here near the fire department, but, again, if we could manage to, push this back a little further, into the site and pick up more parking along here and maybe along this edge, we might do that so that we could have some public, but yeah, you didn't have a ton of public people coming in, public coming in on a day-to-day basis. Why you had 20 parking spaces for here was where you were trying to pick up your training spaces. So that's the biggest challenge, which is why I asked, if the seniors, park in these two spaces and then they leave, will that free it up? We also might have to develop a lot more parking like behind here. That you could put some fire parking back there or for fire steps so you can get more public up front. And we may be able to change the shape of this from here to pick up a couple public spaces up there as well. So it really depends. And in the end, it might be that when we lay out this plan, this whole detention facility shifts further west. West, and then there's more space up in front to build parking and in front of the detention block. So there's opportunities, and the reason we poked it out and did the curve was just so you could see it better. What we didn't like so much about the other scheme, well, no, you didn't like, but you couldn't see the entry. Mm-hmm. You couldn't see the entry, and so we tried to say, okay, here it is, folks. Here you can see there's no doubt that this is the public face of the public safety facility, and the other scheme did not have that. Although it definitely could have other ways of telling that story. So
I just have one question before we go on to another slide. It's a combination both for you and for Ian. But if we went with this idea with the one entrance, this common entrance, and obviously police would be going in using it too. But if the police had to get out quick, fast, and in a hurry, could they go out onto the Maple Street exit? And I'm asking Ian more so than the events.
You could. It would delay a response if you're going towards the northeast. Well, if you're going north.
It seems like it would be more in a straight shot almost, though, from the police station to come straight out the existing road that's there above the senior center. But I realize it's another turn you have to make. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, the one good thing about police is they have a more nimble sized vehicle to move, but yes, there are challenges at this site. I mean, I would definitely, no way get rid of the Maple Street exit, certainly for the police, but, I don't know if either scheme makes the exit for the police any better or any easier. Yeah. And I don't think you really want to move this apparatus deep into the site because of the grades are significant. We looked, could we get the fire department to come out here on the Maple? No way, that's not going to work. So they really want to be on the lowest, flattest part of the site if it's at all possible, in our opinion. They just move better, when they don't have to make turns and jumps and, hills. They may have hills when they get out, but you really want to make the building work for them from an emergency egress point of view.
Are those drive-through bays or in and out bays?
Those are just out the front. Those are not drive-throughs. They're not drive-through.
On either building, on either option? Okay.
No.
And
The grades really don't allow it. They're not conducive to that. Yeah.
Right, and what
Yeah.
is, could you please say again what that pink block is to the,
This pink one here, that's where the fire department staff will be living. That's where their dining, living, sleeping quarters would be, just like in the trailer right now, in the back of the fire station. That's what all would be in the pink space. And that's on the same elevation as the apparatus, sort of thing. So, we have to figure out how the grades work there, but, we don't want them, they could be up a couple feet. There's no reason they couldn't be up a couple feet. They could even be up on the second level at down 8 feet. But, for ease of access, but the grades may tell us something different. We certainly have many fire stations where they live on the upper floors. Their living quarters are up on upper levels. That's not uncommon at all. So I'm not too worried about that. We were just hoping that, we didn't have to make them, we didn't have to put fire poles in. We didn't have to rely on stairs. But, again, if you would choose either of these schemes, we'd be working closely with the civil engineers to dig those, not dig the grades apart, but to discover what the grades how they'll help us and how they'll be impediments. And it could be that, you just have to retain, a lot more than you hope to set the site to work better. So we'll have to see how that goes. Unfortunately, the grade of the town hall and the grade of this aren't equal. They're still, feet apart. But, again, it's a distance to travel, and you can make the grades work with that. So I'm gonna go to this site, just introduce this site again. All this information about, who owns it and what divisions is. I did separate it's not 41.5, it's 40.3 of a 41.5. Yeah, so that's the darker purple, I got that right. And then the additional 2.27 acre is the acreage up to the front. So per the request of you of doing it, we did 2 schemes. And again, there's infinite amounts of opportunities on this site. And we're just showing you 2. But this site here is the original option, and it has levels only, a main level and an upper level. The entry to the site and the apparatus is off of that interior main road to the development. So that's that main road in there. There's a 2-stop elevator on that main level. You have the staff support spaces, you have the apparatus, you have the public spaces, you have mechanical, and you have our police operations and detention. So, and then there's all of the parking is behind. And then, we put a shooting range in here, we put the covered storage here. Is someone asking something?
No, we're just trying to.
You're being adjusted.
Can you guys see and hear us?
We just needed to adjust the screen so we can see it.
Oh,
It's all set now.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because I could hear talking out of my, so just to get a little clearer. So, you'd have some public parking up here. You've got parking everywhere that you could need for police and fire, and it could be rearranged and differentiated. This problem could be flipped. Things can be stretched back and forth. It just shows you that this site, supports the public safety facility quite well. So we show that. On the second floor of this one, again, there is police and fire administration, police support, and building support here. So again, a good plan for a good site because of the very, very flat site. No tiers, no retaining, no things like that. The second option uses both sites. Now, the site across the front here is narrower than the front on the site before. You can see that. So it's a different size. You can't stretch the building out quite so much. So what we did was we put the apparatus here and the
fire staff support spaces right here. This is a public entry on the corner, and this is police support, police operations, and police detention behind it. So from a public point of view, you're coming in here, you're parking along in here, going into the public building. If you're an apparatus, you're leaving by this. There's no meeting again. Same issue as option 1, 2 separate entries, still College Highway, so it's a state road. Still might have questions with MassDOT, but again, we preferred if we had to come in one way, you'd probably come in here and then immediately turn to get to the parking or something like that. This is not so simple as the other one where we would combine them. And then the second floor of this has, spaces on the second floor to support police and fire administration and building support. So there's a lot of leftover site. And again, all of the parking is accommodated. There could be parking along these edges. Here's the cupboard storage for the fire, here's the cupboard storage for the police, but, the parking is, we could even shift the building east or west a bit here, and maybe put more parking on this side here. We're trying to create a nice green buffer here without too much parking along that edge. So there are other things that this site can do. Again, it is more flexible than the other site, and obviously if you were able to get to this site, this is a great shot out for the apparatus. It resolves all those concerns, and the bigger question is how will MassDOT look to this? Right now is an undeveloped site. They're actually not only having 2 entries, but they're having 3. 1, 2, and the development entry. So it could be that they require the public, this one to come in off the same development as the same entry as the development, but we don't know that yet. We were trying to confine all the development of this site on site. So, and then I will tell you that the civil engineer's comments to these were no significant concerns for grades or site elements, lot size supports all programming, it's no buffers is a concern. The second option, which is saying this one is better in terms of access to College Highway, although granted it does have these 2 entry points. On-site septic leach fields should be easier to construct and permit and stormwater permitting, so that they're not concerned. They aren't, oops, I'm sorry, not that, I meant to do that. I meant to just back up to this one. They were not as concerned about, the site being, easily dealt with and less costly to construct. It's really the question of, will we be able to get these cuts to work? Or will they, the state say, oh, this one coming in, and, you come off of that and onto your own development, we don't care, or this one, or could this one come in off the development one? So that is what, part of the thing that has to be looked at. So that's, and that should say option 2, main level, not option.
And both of these offer the drive-through apparatus space.
Oh, yes,
as well.
drive-through apparatus, drive-through Sallyport, drive-through apparatus. Yes, forgot about that. So, 0 college questions. I'll go back.
With the amount of space there, is there a reason why you went 2 levels? Is there a specific reason?
Amy and I talked about that. We discussed whether we should do a 1-story or 2-story here, and I think you could definitely do 1-story. It's just going to stretch the building out really quite long. But yeah, if you wanted to do that, the building, footprint would get a little smaller. The building just would stretch out quite a bit.
Is it cost efficient to do that?
Yeah, so we didn't know where the septic and all that was going to go, so we kind of preserved it right now. But yeah, we could definitely look at a 1-story. Scale wise, it would be a little unusual, but
Would that reduce costs? I think I'm asking.
Save the elevator, right?
Yeah, you have less foundations. The foundations are different. The roofs are smaller.
Well,
but you have
for a 2-story, that's. It's a bit of a trade-off. I don't know that there's a big, I mean, you're not, on the 1-story, you're not paying for stairs and elevators, but the foundations are smaller in the 2-story, so that's where the trade-off comes.
Okay.
Yeah, and you do have longer corridors in a 1-story, because now it's taking you longer to get to something, but, it could be a trade-off. I don't think there's a significant savings, and depending on what other site support you want to put on this, it's totally workable either way. Now, the other option for a 2-story could also work. There's plenty of this to push this parking back. For a 1-story, you mean? Yeah, for 1-story, yes. Of pushing the building back further into the site to accommodate that. And in that case, you would probably, the part of the thing is you'd have a fire department that wants to be connected to their apparatus. So it might mean that this becomes firemen here, and then the entry point is somewhere along this side rather than on the corner, and then the police is south of it on the site, which is fine. We figure out a way to make the building notice. This building could also be moved forward on the site, with the fire administration happening like in front of it, or whatever, in between. Again, if you ask us to look at a 1-story because you prefer this site and you want to do that, we definitely look at that as an option. So, so what other questions on these two?
Would you clarify for me, please? Did you say that on the option 1, where we don't have, okay, on option 1 that there's that the public road that will be cut in by the developer is the access road, or did you say? Okay.
Yes. So this, let me get my pointer.
Can you blow up the picture a little bit?
Yeah, this is here's College Highway, and this is their entry point here. And you would come down that road, and their cul-de-sac was, down south and east of that, I believe. So you would come down their road, bypassing that commercial property, and then coming in here. So.
Can you just enlarge that? We can't see the map very well.
You can't see the what? Oh, blow it up. Okay. Okay, so this is the commercial property. Here's College up here, and this is the new road Brian proposed here. It says 28-foot wide road within 50-foot right of way. And so there is housing development over on this side, the commercial properties up here, and the public housing is south of this site. So I can actually, I'll go back to this and blow this one up here and show you that it's quite similar. It's sitting on the same site. So you come in off College there, and the parking and the apparatus is a very kind of similar plan. Different layout because they only had a 15,000 square foot building when you have a bigger building than that. And then the cul-de-sac is here. So is that helpful to see this one again, to get yourself oriented? So the road we show in front of that is this road. Same here as Future Highway. The first scheme is on the darker purple, and the second scheme is on the light purple and the dark purple. So, yeah. Any other questions?
Is there one more to see?
Are there just 2 options on each site?
Yes.
Yep, 2 options on each site. And like I said, on this site, there's infinite amounts of options. When you have a flat site of a decent size and the program fits, you can do anything you want. But we owed you 2 options to get you started. What the next step is when you pick a site, is to take these plans and develop them. When this is not all you're getting a much more. The next step was after this was to develop conceptual plans, not massing, but conceptual plans on the selected site. So if you choose Zero College, just say you use Cedar College, but you actually decide to buy this site, we will develop two options for this, and they could look very different depending on one might be a one-story, one might be a two. There might be two one-stories, there might be two stories. You know, let us know. That way, the same thing for the other to a four college. If you pick that site, we'll develop two different, in detail. They could be the two plans that we showed, which are different in how you enter the buildings and use the buildings, or they could be, you could pick one of the two and say, we like this one better with the single entry or the double entry, and then we develop two options that match that.
So Janet, so this is really option 2 on Zero College Highway.
Yes, and I'll fix that right now.
So all we're gaining, if I'm understanding.
I copied the header, so I would get the headers right. And
if we're proposing to potentially buy that commercial area, that acre or 2 acres, whatever it is, of commercial land out front, my understanding is all we're gaining by that is to make that the separate access for the emergency vehicles.
It's a much better exit for the emergency vehicles, correct?
But it'd still be maybe a challenge with DOT approving a second curb cut. Both sites have the same issue of, can we have 2 curb cuts on College Highway, right?
Yeah, that's part of it. And now, maybe we look at a different way of getting onto the site rather than this. I mean, I don't know. Do you come on this? You make this a bit wider and come and cross over to get to the parking. Maybe there's more parking up front, and then we enlarge this so that the emergency vehicles can exit. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities. I don't want to get this apron so wide, that it doesn't serve the site. I think the site would barely benefit, the neighborhood would benefit for a very positive public space up front, a green space. It really may move forward a great deal, and there might be more parking type behind it. It's still how to get to it. That slightly narrow site is not insignificant to how the building lays out. But first thought is get the apparatus out as fast as possible. So,
and it's definitely possible that we could have the apparatus exit onto College Highway and then the public and police entrance on that side.
Oh, on this side road, yeah,
side road as well.
Yeah. It would depend. It would obviously. Be which comes first. Does this site get developed first, or does this road get built first? And it could be that this is a sort of a temporary until this road gets built. Is that a possibility? I don't know. But we tried to. We thought about it more like, okay, they're developing this site, but they're years away, and you're developing this next year. How would you have to build it? Would the town take over ownership of building this first little connection in here so you can get onto your site? I don't know. Is that a possibility? Do you leave it all to the developer? Does this developer develop that road first and the town use it? I don't know. There's.
Jenna, I have 2 questions for you.
Yes.
With this current option here, and I can't tell by the scale, and I know it's not drawn to scale, but the building itself, where that public access is, how far is that from the frontage of Route 10?
Okay, let me
Roughly.
see. I'm going to say 70, probably about 90. This is 20, so 20.
And
that's 30. 60. I was going to say about 90. It's about 95 feet from this line to this line.
Okay, all right. I just want to get that, because I was by looking at it, it looks like there's a lot more room to move the building up closer to the highway for greater visibility.
You can, and I did mention that you could even move the whole building forward. Because this is a 100-foot apron, which is
fabulous, but it could be as small as 50 feet, so it could, move up that far, much further. And that is that yellow line, I don't know if you can see it, but it's like a yellow line. That is your property setback of 30 feet. You can move the whole building up to 30 feet, up to that 30-foot line. Again, it's how you want it to sit, how far back do you want this? Is going to be a taller structure? We could do this. We could flip and put the police up front and the fire department, more in the back. It really depends. What we do, we could also obviously shift the buildings this direction because, again, that yellow line represents the setback. So there's a lot of things that we can do here. Again, it's really up to, do you even like this notion of taking this site? Is it important enough to try to purchase this site in order to make the apparatus, the ambulances, the fire trucks move out of the College Highway faster?
And then on option one, if you could just go back to option one.
On this site?
On this site, yes.
Yeah, this one.
How would the public access?
So the public would come down here, they would drive in here, and they would park here, and then there would be a pathway to the front door.
Okay, all right.
So I have a question. Granted, the town has not yet even negotiated with the property owners for purchasing the site that's on College Highway. But is it possible that they don't even need this option one site? Could you get everything on the front site?
Yeah, I mean, we can look at that.
I think
that would be,
it's a little tight.
That would be tight to get all the parking on, probably. Yeah. I mean, it was 2 point what acres, Janet?
2.2. It was 4.03.
2.27. I think it's going to be
half
tough.
the size.
Tough to get the building footprint, to get an adequate apron, to get all the parking, to get stormwater management, septic, to get all that on 2.27 acres.
A little small.
That would be tight.
But you could obviously take less of it, perhaps. Move this forward, and they could have this, and they could develop more housing. If that was something that they wanted to do, you could certainly get a different shape of a site, and maybe they'd be willing to look at that.
So just a quick question for you. I'm just looking at the plans that the developers provided, and I see where their proposed road is. That looks like building site number, lot number, a different lot than that we proposed. That wouldn't be accessible frontage.
They don't have that plan.
So can you go back to the original site, to the site?
Yeah, this one right here?
If you were to go back to site option 2.
Oh, option 2.
Option 2.
Yeah, so just so you know, this was option 1, and option 2 took both of these 2 sites, just for everybody. Just think you know that, but so that's option 1, using the lower portion, and this is option 2, taking that proportion as well.
So that's different than that.
So
there could be a scale. There could be a scale difference just in the 2 plans.
Okay, maybe if I can show the committees, you can't see what I'm looking at. If this is so maybe someone can explain this. If this is the line going in for the entranceway, this is that schematic showing that this is frontage.
Yeah, right.
Right, but it also shows this. It's abutted to.
Yeah, this is 2 separate.
Yes.
Separate commercial lots.
That's showing 1.
Are they taking this?
Can you tell us what you're looking at?
Sure.
Well, the green is the commercial lot.
Can you hold it up to
Did
the
they
camera?
combine? It might be, maybe it's an old plan.
We use the dimensions that are written on this site to develop those 2 site locations. Yeah.
There are 1, 2, 3, 4 commercial lots on College Highway. We were proposing buying this one. It looks like you've got either these combined or utilizing this one.
I can't see that, Amy.
See the drawing? Yeah, Janet, can you stop sharing for a minute so it'll get big? So the drawing that we have of Zero College Highway shows those combined. We don't have that drawing. that you-
Okay.
yeah.
Unless we do, it's not this colored plan that was sent.
And perhaps it's been changed, I don't know, I just noted that.
Oh,
Yeah, no, we don't, that's not the one do we have that one, Chief? I don't think we had that one. Amy sent you a
what's the
block
date?
image. She was using this. I was using the colored one.
Yeah. So was that wider?
No, that's narrower, Janet.
That's
It's like
narrower.
half of what we were showing.
Yeah.
And you know how we can tell is just by the acreage, is it identify the acreage for each lot, Ed, there on?
Someone that actually has eyes would have to
I
either find
thought,
the
yeah,
date.
I thought that
I
one, the
think
one was
it's early.
2.27 and then that one was 1.8.
So we're looking at.
I didn't even
Isn't that, doesn't
measure
that
it.
say
I mean,
2.27?
the other side, I just
Say
assumed that when you
1.8?
circled it, Amy, you outlined it, that on this one that.
Well, no, what circled was circled previously by someone else. I don't know.
No,
I just
when you
described
talked
that.
to the chief, when he said that you were gonna get that site on the street, I thought you had said, and it's the site right adjacent to it, but
Can
it's
you
not.
jump back to the concept plan that we had with all the trees and everything else on it? Because that's probably the latest one. I'm thinking this is a dated plan.
You screen share, Janet?
Oh, I'm looking at it myself and I'm saying, why aren't you? I'm sorry, I forgot I was no longer sharing. Sorry.
4.6 in terms of the total already.
That's the
And I am going to get this a little bit
See,
thicker.
that concept plan has it as one lot.
It does, okay.
And I think the concept plan, the plan Ian has, I think, was an original plan that was being set up, but I think they went and they changed it. That's why you see 3 commercial lots instead of
Four.
Instead of 4.
Okay.
No, so are you saying this one was split in 2? Or did it get
Originally it
wider?
was.
Yeah.
Originally, but I think, and I could be wrong, because I don't have a date on the plan that Ian's got, that was the latest version as to what you have. There's no date on that, is there?
Well, if you could send that to us and we can take a peek at it. So you were only getting one of those 2 commercials.
date.
I didn't,
I can tell you right.
I didn't.
Do you know the number of acres that you were asking for?
It indicates square feet, so I'm actually gonna make that calculation right now.
Yeah.
because-
Okay. So this one was the J, parcel J is 2.27 acres.
2022.
Which is that?
4,000.
And this one is the 4.2 acres.
This is June 2022. What's the date on that one?
I don't know if we have a date on this. If so, I've certainly cut it off,
It'd be in the
get it
key.
on the site.
Very bottom.
In the key there?
Okay, they combined them, based on the square footage here, it looks like they've been combined, so that was my,
Okay.
I had some old paperwork.
So this is
Okay.
all.
Okay, does that mean,
That means
We're
you're-
looking at the
it
right
looks like
site?
You're on the correct.
Okay.
we're okay? Okay.
But we still don't have 4.6 acres. which-
Not that we couldn't work with something, but yeah, okay, so they tried to split this into 2 pieces so they could develop a 4
Yeah.
commercial, but they kept the road in the same location. Okay,
Plus
okay.
2.
Sorry for the confusion.
Right there.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm confused on the acreage in general, but the 4.03 is what you have for acreage to be donated, but I thought it was more than that.
Yes.
We don't know that.
Last,
for sure.
in our minutes, we said it was 4.6 acres, but it's only 4.03 according.
Yeah, I don't know, I think I got 4.03 from someone, but I think on that plan it said 4.2, we'd have to determine it. It's not, it doesn't make a difference for our development, that little bit difference, but we get that resolved.
And we're literally in the neighborhood. Well, my personal opinion is I like site 2, concept 2.
I can't hear, can you speak up a little bit? I'm having a hard time hearing at this
It's only
point.
in one spot, sorry.
I like site 2, concept 2. But there's an open-ended question about the select board and negotiation with the owner, which leads me to say we shouldn't move forward until we at least get a little feedback here as that that's gonna happen.
And that could come down to dollar signs, clearly. Because if we have to buy that site, and then, it's impossible to compare the dollar signs right now based on the fact that we don't know some of the development costs on 204 College Highway.
Yeah, I mean, 204 is going to be a bigger site development cost. We know that. And could that offset this? It's a good chance.
You did do some cost comparisons for the senior center project when they were looking at developing that site, correct?
Well, I don't have that data. I don't know.
I think there was some information, we can go back and look, but I think that was what we talked about a while back when we were talking about when we would do cost estimates for this project, that I think they had some data that showed basically a delta for developing that site versus some of the other sites that they were looking at. So we can look at that to get an idea. It's definitely more complicated. It's definitely more complicated. And one of the things we didn't talk about was, what happens to the fire department during construction in temporary facilities, whether we could get some plan to work where it would be phased construction, which I think would probably be pretty challenging. And there's certainly a cost to that because it draws out the length of the construction time. And so you're paying added general conditions for a contractor for added months in their schedule, or whether you have to put the fire department somewhere else if you've got another facility in town to put them at, or you need to build a tent structure and a trailer, or you've got a place you can rent or something. I don't know the answer to those questions, but it's definitely a cost. So,
Yeah. So in my opinion, I like, if just picking an option between all four of them, among all four of them. So for 204 College Highway, I only like option 2. And then for 0 College Highway, I kind of like option 2, but I think I'm not thrilled with having the building so far back. It seems like if we're going to put out money to buy that commercial parcel, I don't know that we're making the best use of that money, that space. I mean, to have such a long apron for the emergency vehicles, but I don't know how you...
Yep, no, we can move that forward. That is not a hard thing to do at all,
That would be just a concern, but, so for me, it's option 2 on both of them, but...
Okay.
What's that? I said, are we supposed to go around and give
anyone else?
at this point?
How do you feel, James?
I'm kind of along with her, what she said, option 2 here, and move it closer to the road.
Yep.
So.
I feel the same way, option 2 for both.
Yeah.
0 College and 210 College Highway, or 204 College Highway.
Yeah.
I like also the presentation. I think you can, at 204 College Highway, option 2 allows you to kind of maybe see the facade, maybe the aesthetically more pleasing than just a large building with garage doors from the highway.
Yeah. But I think if we did option 2, 0 College Highway right here, moving it forward in terms of negotiating with the owners, clearly there's a whole area in the back there on the potentially donated site that could be given back to them, or not accepted, or whatever we have to do. Don't we have to vote on an acquisition of the land?
Why would we give it back?
Why would we give it
There's things
back?
like...
But it also
housing,
leads you to have a larger area for training and
Okay,
whatever.
yeah,
for
that's a
that.
good different thing. Okay, all right, fine.
But we can't really, we have to also find out whether the curb cut is allowed to know whether option 2 of 0 College Highway is even viable.
Would it be possible just sending a letter to DOT and showing them a concept plan, asking them for a preliminary opinion?
Did you hear that question?
Yeah, I don't know if they would commit to something without seeing full plans and having traffic studies done and all. I don't know. I think we can certainly talk to the civil engineer and see what their thoughts are for how easy it would be to get the two cuts.
I mean, PAR can talk to internally. They have people who are, have that ability to, sort of have a feel for what the state would think about it. I mean, the question for this site, certainly for me, is that if this site was split off from the development, they would obviously be probably more willing to accept a second, the second entry, that there's 3 entrances being cut in off of College Avenue to the site. In fact, there's many more because each one of those commercial properties, I think, I'm not sure, but I may have a curb cut. So they were already, I'm going to go back in time, and they're already.
I don't think they do, Janet. I think they were showing them all off that side.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I wanted to look before I spoke too much about that.
And I thought there was only one major driveway in, that's
Right.
that cul-de-sac area.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
There's only one curb cut now.
Yeah, so you're right. So they came in and they came back
Right.
here, and they've gone onto these sites through here
Right.
or through this way. So, yeah, they were only having the one.
Right.
So whether the state would support at least 2, because this site was split off from the rest of the site development, would they be more willing to do that? And then our question would certainly be, can we figure out a way to only do 1? And I think I'm sure we can, but we just have to think about it and what it means. So, because we do want the apparatus to go straight, and whether the highway people would consider this, 2 really different uses on a site, or where they would say, no, you gotta only have 1, and you gotta figure out how to do it, or you come in when this road gets developed, you cut in there in the future, So that's a big question.
But until the negotiations take place between the select board and the developer, we can't really even weigh in on this site with any certitude.
Taking a step back, so the original intent was for us to pick one site after this presentation,
Right.
and then to develop 2 different schemes on one site. So my thought is, if Zero College Highway is the preferred site in general, we could do one scheme at Zero College Highway showing just the donated land, and then one scheme showing, the commercial property as well as the donated land. If you're still on the fence about 204 College Highway, then we probably need to think about that a little bit more. But I guess, what are your thoughts about taking that approach?
Well, we don't know, we don't even know for sure, we don't know the terms and conditions of the donation, or whether it in fact will work out, so I guess.
Yeah. So the select board meets tomorrow night, and we'll take up the motion that was developed here to allow the town administrator to just open negotiations with the landowner of Zero College Highway. And so that it just left, but somewhere, I would assume he would act upon that as soon as he can, within the week or something, at least open up a discussion with them. But I don't think,
Why don't we table for 2
we don't know anything more until we understand even what the terms of the donation are, let alone the other property. So we might have to not make a real decision today until we have some negotiations starting, so we have some ideas, and then it would be, another, whatever, week or 10 days out. I mean, I don't know.
But furthermore, if that development, the proposed development does not get approved,
Everything
then
changes.
that might change everything as well.
Yeah. I would make a motion that we table this for 2 weeks until we get feedback from the select board and Ed.
And
Yeah,
the property owners, right?
Well, that would be Ed coming back telling us what they said.
Well, the question would be is if we did buy that commercial property, then it wouldn't hinge at all. Am I correct that it would not hinge at all on what happened to the rest of that development?
Yeah, you're correct.
That we'd be operating completely independently?
I think you'd want to get that documented in a letter from the landowners, all right?
Well, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
Table it for 2 weeks. Let the select board have time to vote and decide. If they initiate this with Ed, it gives Ed 2 weeks to reach out to the property owners, and at least they'll have some viable information for us, and then we could vote and make a decision.
Janet and Amy, what do we have for a timeline to try to get?
Yes, that was, I know what Amy's thinking. That was our next conversation. I'll get out of I'll stop sharing so we can see each other a little better. So Amy, we had done some, our engineers had called us and said, okay, other engineers. Right. So the hope had been that we would pick a site tonight, and then we were going to go off and work on some conceptual floor plans and meet back with you on November 13th to present those conceptual options. And we were hoping at that meeting to also bring the mechanical engineers with us so that they could start talking to you about systems. A piece of this is, just to get an idea of what systems you might be interested in, what green options you might be interested in, so that they can develop narratives for the cost estimator to put together cost options. I think there probably would be an impact to that if we table this for a couple of weeks, but we'll do what you need to do.
Yeah, I mean, the most important thing is you feel confident in giving us direction at this point. Just going back to your overall schedule, we were supposed to produce the draft final report by mid-February, so that you could you'd have a week of review, and then the revising of the final report was done in early March. So that would push it, and that was so you would have plenty of time to prepare for your town meeting. So, if you lose a couple weeks, we're going to have to figure out a time to make up that time.
Part of it is the challenges around the holidays too, and the time it takes to get a cost estimate done. So we're trying to get things to the cost estimator before the holidays.
No, he was getting it. He was getting it.
Oh, no, you're right. Right after
the holidays. So we're going to get on his schedule for the beginning of January. So, I'm sure he'll work with us on the schedule, but we need to tell them he can get in and say, it takes about 3 weeks to do a cost estimate. They're not slow, they're not fast-moving things. They take quite a bit of work to prepare something that is useful for you, especially with this complicated site. So, we can work with your schedule, but we sort of worked with Ed. He came and gave us a drop dead date, and then we backed off the schedule based on that, correct, Amy, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. That's how we put the schedule together. So you do have a copy of that schedule as a draft. You can see it.
Yep, we got it.
Yep, you got it. So you can read what we're reading. And the other thing we were doing was we were putting the GGD, which is the work on a rough estimate. We were making sure that they had information, and so they had to have that meeting. And so we were moving that meeting up until November 13th, so that they had enough time to come up with narratives to prepare the work for the cost estimator. So we'll have to rejigger all that. But again, if it doesn't work for you to make a decision tonight, it's not going to make,
I don't think we can.
I don't see how, I made a motion that we table this for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I wish it wasn't true, but it's true. We can't make a decision.
Chris seconded it.
Oh.
And Cindy took over.
All in favor?
Aye.
I think we have no other option but to get some more concrete information, let the negotiations move forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we'll clearly talk to the civil engineer a little bit about the highway issues. Yeah. We'll definitely make that call. He's seen all the schemes, so, they weighed in on, conceptually on the schemes. I wanted to make sure we weren't proposing anything was too wild, and he was surprised that we could get anything to work on 210. And obviously, zero is a much easier lift from a civil point of view. So we will bring up these curb cuts.
And it will indeed have to be determined with certainty that second curb cut can be put in, because that would determine whether we pursue the purchase of that parcel, right?
No, not necessarily.
Might,
I think we can,
possibly.
I don't know, I mean, what are you thinking? I'm thinking we can figure out the curb cuts. It should be the tail wagging the dog, so to speak.
I think we can figure out the curb cuts. I think, and I don't think we could get certainty. The certainty comes when you go through the permitting process with Mass DOT. We can certainly talk to the engineers about what their feeling is about it and what the process would be like with Mass DOT, but you just never know until you go through the actual permitting process.
Well, and they might be able to run it by our regional DOT folks up in Hatfield. I mean, that's where the office is.
Yeah,
and
yep.
Just get a sense from them informally what's allowable.
Right, yeah.
Chris, I'm going to have to take off.
Yeah, if someone, I mean, I don't know how it works with MassDOT. I mean, they're, a state agency and God only knows, but, there's personal connections. There might be ways of having an informal conversation with them. But again, Amy's absolutely correct. They're not going to, by the time you get to the permitting, who knows who's going to be sitting in that chair and making the decision. So someone could clearly give you some direction and change. So, you really want to be really sure of your before you put something out to them that could, someone could say, I don't know what they were thinking, they were wrong, they weren't following the letter of the law or something like that. So, but we will definitely bring this up with PAR and get, see what they might say, hey, look, exactly what Amy said, we're not going to know for a while. But your gut is to come to Zero College. I mean, if you can. If you can.
Well,
if you can.
A vote.
You want to take a vote to that?
We don't need to at this point if we're going to wait, right?
Yeah, I
We've
would
got 3
not be
members missing
comfortable.
move out, so.
We haven't.
Because it's just your gut.
So when are we having the next meeting, November 6th?
Oh, wait, we don't.
For us, anyway. What do you say, weeks out?
November 6th.
So we had from 10/23 to 11/13. How many weeks is that? And that included?
That's 3 weeks.
3 weeks. We needed 3 weeks. So if you push it off 2 weeks, oh my goodness gracious, we have to find a new schedule.
We'd have to.
We have to. Yeah, we have to go. We have to get back to the engineers because they were coming to meetings. So we got to scramble all the dates to see what works. But Amy and I will talk about that and see what it means. I don't know if Ed knows what it means too from the point of view of town meeting. Certainly can weigh in on that too.
I do know that Janet, you and I have a conflict on November 6th.
Oh, we do. Let me.
We do.
Hold on. I'm trying to.
Day of the week, Thursday or something?
Do we need to have a joint meeting?
November 6th.
November 6th is the Monday.
Oh, we do. November 6th, we do.
But they haven't come to
I believe we do. Don't we have a select board meeting that night?
We have a select board meeting
on the
that
7th.
night. I have to check. My calendar is a little bit November 6th. I'll have to check. I know we do have a meeting that week, but that's on the 8th, I think, that I know of. So I'll have to talk to Amy about it and compare our schedules.
We have that as well.
Okay. I'm missing something here because Amy's pretty correct about that. So, okay. All right.
Well, let's just develop it over the next week or 10 days in terms of what schedules are available on both sides and not make a decision tonight. We probably need, our meeting maybe needs to be the 6th anyway.
I would think.
Yeah.
But you may not need to join us on the 6th, but I think we need to meet on the 6th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, we can get you, we'll talk to PAR, we'll get you that information, we'll get you a copy of these PowerPoint with the drawings, so you can be looking
do a little cleanup so that it's pretty clear. I think some of the colors are a little bit harder to read on the screen than they were on the drawing that I was looking at, so I just want to make sure that the colors are right. But it's close enough. I mean, the point is that these are just massing boxes to show you the relationships and to show you the levels and things like that. So they're close enough for that. I'll just check them to make sure that they're not missing something. Okay. Okay.
All right. So.
All right. Okay.
We'll be in, thank you very much, and we'll be back in touch as soon as we can.
Okay, thank you. Take care, everyone.
Thanks.
Goodbye. Good night.
Good night.
So I move we schedule a meeting for November 6th.
Please.
4:30?
Oh, yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So that's November 6th.
A lot of information, and there's a lot of things to consider.
There's a lot of moving parts right now.
Yeah.
Because without any confirmation about Zero College Highway,
You can't do
we
it.
can't do it, right? And so I think we need confirmation on, is that donated land regardless, right? Because I don't, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, I think somebody said the meetings relative to that development was in January, right? Am I mistaken? When I asked about the meeting for that development, the planning board meeting, I believe that was,
It's pushed off quite a bit.
I think they said January.
Yeah, I think it's
I
quite a
think somebody
bit.
told me January.
Oh, Mark would have said that.
Maybe it was Mark,
I think it was
right?
Mark that said that.
Which,
Yeah.
that's, you know, we need to know obviously, well, we need to know that if that does not work for them, that this land is still available to us.
I missed that because Chris asked me something. What is in January? What is
I believe it's the planning board meeting relative to this development.
That's what Mark said
I
last
believe
week.
that's what he said,
Okay.
it was in January. So that's too far away for us, not too late, obviously.
Yeah.
So I think one of the inquiries we have to make are, despite the plans and the development, is that land available, and is that front lot available, regardless of whether that development passes through town's approval.
And we're clear now that that there really are just
Yes.
3 commercial lots now,
Yes.
not 4.
Yeah.
So that one commercial lot that we're talking about is really the adjoined,
When I put
Double
all the
lot.
square footage together, it was the
Okay.
same amount as the 2 point something acres.
But that's the current plan, though. That is
Right.
not
Right.
confirmed.
So, I mean, theoretically, we're probably negotiating, if that's the case, we're negotiating for whether you want to call it 2 lots instead of 1, or a larger commercial lot than we originally anticipated talking about.
But is there also the option of negotiating for half of that space? I know the current plan is for a single commercial lot there, but originally it was shown as 2 lots. As part of the negotiations, could it be divided again?
Well, then,
yeah.
let me follow up on that. If that was the case, is which of the 2 front lots? Because I originally thought the front right,
Yes.
however,
Yeah, the corner one.
well, the front right, but however, what they showed up there almost looked like
Yeah, it was hard
the
to,
second one in would almost be a
it was,
better match.
it was
yeah.
hard to tell,
Yeah.
honestly.
Well, so one or the other, again, we're trying to make determinations without having
Right.
things
Sure.
right in front
But
of
I
us.
think practically, I don't think you would want the egress for all the emergency vehicles in between another commercial lot. I mean, I think we'd want the corner commercial lot,
Well, that-
whatever.
yeah. Well, sure.
I mean, I think that's the one we'd want. So whatever it looked like on there, I don't know that we're totally clear in terms of how they got it diagrammed there, but, you know, it didn't show up that well to me to understand it well.
So
But I-
one of the questions is, okay, do you have what is the current layout of what they're dealing with? So we can actually see it and know.
But I think we just, I can't remember the day we did the tour up at Zero College Highway and with the developer, I still had in my head it was 4 lots up front.
I thought he said there was,
So even though that map
You
looks
were there,
like
Mike.
3,
What you said? So what?
I thought he said 4 lots.
That's what I thought too, so I'm a little confused by
That's what was.
the oral versus any of these maps. I mean, I think we just
Right.
have to really get the latest clarity there.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, technically none of it's been subdivided.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, from that green tree lot map, that looks like it's a joined lot, whereas that wasn't my impression when we did the site visit, so.
And also, Charlie has asserted a number of times, and I don't like to speak without him here, but he has said that they are about 1 acre lots.
Right, that's what I
Right,
thought.
so, that's where I based my suggestion last week.
Right, yeah.
Was to add that acre to give us some frontage, and so the 2 acres actually surprised me.
Yeah, well, I think that's what we can clarify though, assuming we take a vote tomorrow night, we can let, go forward with that.
Yeah.
Question, be clear with the all landowners.
All right, so for the sake of efficiency here, we will just, I don't think there's any, I should ask, is there any other business that we can't wait until the next meeting? And so we will regroup at our next meeting on November 6th, and hopefully have some, 4:30.
4:30.
Have something, a little bit to grasp onto.
Yeah.
But until things are in writing, until it's finalized too, we still won't know whether it's,
But,
whether we can move forward with it or not.
but see how much we can get done before that meeting,
That's correct.
what they're willing to put down on paper. I mean,
Good
how much-
luck. I hope that you can make some.
It kind of needs to be final. Hanging them to do all this work.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Of course, we can't, yeah.
It's
Exactly.
back to zero
Kind of
college.
stuck.
There were some things you asked, I thought a very good question about an elevator on the larger site, Zero College Highway, where we'd always thought wouldn't be necessary to have an elevator, which we all assume is expensive. But then they said, it's kind of a wash if you're actually doing a larger footprint, foundation.
And roof.
Yeah, I'm not saying they didn't do their job, but I will say I've got more questions than I have answered, really, right now.
That elevator's also, that's a maintenance as well.
Well, it's good, because it
Yeah.
means you're thinking along the way.
Right?
What's that?
It's good because it means you're thinking along the
I-
way
I
as they're
rarely
bringing up
think,
these
but-
options.
And the other thing that they said about this site, despite the multiple issues, which is very clear about soil and sewer and everything, well, we can move it back a little this way, et cetera, and I don't know. I don't know, I kind of like, I know your concern, you've said before about in and out of this area here and the cruisers and the fire department and all that, and I listen to you guys, but this is the center of town, and this is, to me, as far as most things, the right place for this public safety building,
I certainly would say it was the right place
if it
if
worked.
the terrain was a little bit better.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's not the right place.
Yeah,
But if it was the same, if it was flat like there, I'd say absolutely.
Yeah.
It's going to be a nightmare on election day, and it's going to be a nightmare anytime, whether the Council on Aging has a program that draws a lot of people, or the select board or someone has a meeting in here at night that draws a lot of people.
They mentioned there was a difference in price, and they would be nice if they could quantify that as a
Right.
percentage,
That's right.
to say that, so we can justify if we choose the other side,
Right.
that, without knowing if it's only 2%, 5%, 10%, more cost.
Well, it's good, the site development costs, whatever, the retaining walls and whatever else has got to be done, and all that was going to be that extra cost, right? Which I don't know how much they can quantify.
Septic's
That's right.
gonna be
Septic.
an issue.
I also-
And then, where are you gonna put the fire department while they're building the building?
That's a big one, yeah.
Other guys.
So that's,
And
probably a couple of
those
years.
different elevations too, I wanted the same perspective you wanted, to see what it would look like.
A facade view.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I could not understand the difference, you know,
No,
granted,
you
you're
can't-
given different elevations,
Yeah.
but is it going to look,
It's hard to visualize.
it's gonna be just a bunch of
Maybe
buildings?
impossible.
Yeah. So what we saw was the overview footprint, basically,
Right.
that's what we've
That's
got,
called
right?
the
So we
plan,
haven't seen the
yeah.
facade view yet, which is their next step, I gather.
But even to get, I think, that's what was frustrating to me and why I asked for an elevation, was because that was on 3 different levels, and to just get some, they could have done it in block form, just like they did the plan, to get my head wrapped around it just in some way, so that I have no idea what that building might.
It took me 10 minutes to figure out what they were talking about.
There was something about was maybe Ian's point about visibility or something with glass walls, or were you talking about something about, I thought you said you kind of liked the facade of 204?
Oh,
As far as the number,
The second plan.
the way it was orientated,
I
it
like
seemed as though it
The
was.
entry of
It was,
the general public in between the two.
and they could see it, right? Versus when they
Yeah.
drive by, they see just a giant garage.
Yeah, okay,
Right?
Yeah, structurally, I mean, visually, it looked like an interesting building.
Yeah, yeah.
How important is it for the fire department to have the drive-through bays as opposed to the
I mean-
back-out bays or the?
It'd be a nice option, but I mean, it's not a deal breaker. I mean, we've never had it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I won't-
More than likely, you know, depending on how many bays, you're gonna have a truck behind a
Right.
truck.
Right.
So you're not gonna be,
Oh, you're actually not using it as a driveway
right.
anyway?
I mean, you could have them back to back where you could drive out one way
Oh, okay.
if you needed to. But,
Yeah, even having the drive-throughs, even if they're back-to-back, if you pull one in and the other. I won't tell you over my 20 years of doing this, how many either garage doors or vehicles have been repaired because with 2 people in the vehicle, for some reason, they don't feel that the passenger needs to get out and help the driver back up.
Sounds like a workers' comp claim there. Okay.
All right, so we will meet on the November 6th. May I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.